Hello and welcome to Ovation. In this video, we'll look at how we can import objects into our VR environment, such as slide decks, images, and speaker notes. It's very handy to have these available when we're practicing our communication skills. Now, imports are linked to each individual user, so we'll have each user log into the Ovation website and then load up their imports and then find those imports inside their VR environment. Let's take a look at imports in Ovation. Imports are for each individual user rather than the organization. We'll be able to add imports that we can use when we practice, such as slides, texts, or boards that we want to use during our presentations. So let's add some slides. It can be images, PowerPoints, or PDF. We'll add a PowerPoint here. And when I add the PowerPoint, I'll just select my PowerPoint file. So I have a PowerPoint file that has a presentation that I want to practice. And it takes a little while for that PowerPoint to be converted into the VR environment. So you just have to be patient and make sure that you don't use PowerPoints that have a lot of animations or video or complexity to them. These are great for practicing, but they won't have the same robustness as a full PowerPoint presentation would. So it'll give me all of the things I need to practice though. When I import the PowerPoint, I can then go and review it, make sure all the slides are there. I can go in and scroll through them, become familiar with them through the website. It's brought in as images, a series of images, and then I can even go ahead and remove individual slides, or I can put speaker notes for individual slides. This is going to make it much easier when I'm practicing my presentation. I can also go in and import text. So for example, if I have speaker notes or things I'd like to remember, I can bring those in, and these will appear in the VR environment. We'll have a look at that in a moment. But again, the text is there and I can edit the text, make changes right here on the website, and then see those changes in the VR portal. So we'll go back to imports, and finally I can import slides or boards. So when I import a board, I can bring in an image. This is very handy if I want to practice presenting an image to an audience. So for example, if I had an architectural diagram or a diagram that I want to demonstrate, I can import it and I can practice presenting that right in the VR environment. So I've logged into Ovation with the account that I used to upload and import those items. And if I go into my menu here, you'll notice that if I go into my imports, the items are here. I can review them, so I could take a look at them. So you can see that I have my different imports here. For example, my slide deck in here, and I can delete them and rename them. I'll have all of my imports here. I can also go into the home button here and I can choose a different type of speech that I'd like to do. Let's say, for example, I want to do a prepared speech in a hotel conference room. When I'm in this environment, I now will have access to all of those imports. So it's loading up, and I'll have a menu where I can have a lectern, I can have a slide deck. So if we look here at the imports, you can see I can load in my text, I can load in my speaking notes, we'll bring those in. I can come in and load in my slides, my scenario, we'll bring that in. And I can load in my board that I created, my business intelligence architecture, and we'll load that in. I can go into my tools where I can have a screen. I could have a teleprompter that can help me. So you can see my notes are here. These are the points that I'd like to remember, and I can control this. So I'm able to review my notes as I'm giving my speech. It's on both sides of the floor here. I can go in and add things such as a lectern. So this is in front of me, I have a lectern. Now I'm sitting down, so I'm actually going to remove the lectern. But if I'm standing, I'll have a computer there that'll have my notes on there as well. The computer, a mic, and handhelds. I'll be able to put the computer onto the lectern. So there's both the lectern and a computer on the lectern. I can have a board. So if we put a board, you can see I have my architecture on the board here. So we can see here, I've got my board that I can refer to. I can go in and I can put a slides monitor on here. So now I have both my speaking notes as well as my slide monitor here, where I can navigate through my slides as I'm speaking, and my audience will see those slides behind me. So I can really customize my environment with these imports in order to be able to make sure that I have different types of, well, this is another note for the slide, so you can have a separate notes for each slide. I didn't put any notes for the slides, but that's very handy as well, where I can have the slides and the associated note on a separate monitor. And I can really customize this environment to have an environment that allows me to have all of these loaded resources available. All of my different imports are here that I can then refer to and use as I'm practicing speaking to this wonderful audience in front of me. Having slide decks, notes, and images available while we're practicing our presentation and communication skills is a very useful thing. These are tied to the individual user, so my slides will not be in someone else's account. They're unique to myself. This is a great way to practice giving a presentation that's a little more formal or that has these types of objects in it. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you in the next video.